Welcome back to Transit Unplugged, where we go inside the minds of the people moving the world. I'm Paul Comfort, your host, and today's guest is a true force in public transportation. It's Michele Stiehler. She's Chief of Paratransit Services at the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, or MBTA, in Boston. Michele manages a $162 million budget and leads a team delivering over 1.5 million trips a year in one of the top 10 paratransit or on-demand paratransit systems in the country. And she's driving real change in paratransit. She just renegotiated frontline wages to boost retention, and she does something that I think is very important. She gets all of her staff to ride the service. It's actually called the ride. So she's getting them, whether you're HR, finance, IT, procurement, legal, riding the service that they're delivering the back office services and support for, but being out there on the front line, seeing the passengers and the drivers, it's key, I think, to making sure everyone is rowing the boat in the same direction. And that's what she's making sure of there. She's raising the bar on service and innovation. Not only that, she's been there for 3 years at MBTA, but she spent a full career, 35 years, at New Jersey Transit, NJT. She did finance, policy, planning there. She started off her career thinking she wanted to go into social work, and like we talked about off camera, she kind of ended up doing that and working in paratransit, leading 2 state agencies' paratransit operations. I don't know anyone else has done that. And off the clock, she's an avid traveler, a volunteer, an outdoor adventurer, and she told us that her entire family has been involved. Her husband, her kids, they've all had jobs in public transportation, a real family affair. So today with her, we're going to dive into her philosophies, what she's learned over the years, some nuggets of wisdom over a long career in transit. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation, just like I did with Michele Stiehler. Let's get into it. Great to have with us today as our guest, Michele Stiehler, who is Chief of Paratransit Services at MBTA in Boston. Michele, thanks for being on the show.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Michele, you have one of the toughest jobs in the transit industry, if you ask me, which is leading a big paratransit system. So first off, kudos to you for the work you've done there and also New Jersey Transit. Let's kick it off with tell us a little about your background and how you got to where you're at, your story.
Sure, happy to. So I've been in transportation my entire career. I started at 18 years old. I picked up a part-time ticket agent position in New Brunswick while attending Rutgers my freshman year. One of the most interesting jobs shortly after that I held was as a rail block operator, where I operated the HX tower, switches and signals. And from there, I ended up moving into the planning department. I had a lot of great mentors that persuaded me that my place was not as a social worker and that I should remain at New Jersey Transit. And I hopped around quite a bit from planning to policy, finance, and budget, and ended my career at New Jersey Transit and Paratransit.
And you were managing the paratransit system for the state, right?
I was a general manager of Paratransit for New Jersey Transit, and New Jersey Transit does cover the entire state.
Yeah, so you did 25 years there, and then you went up to Boston? Something like that? You don't have to reveal your age, but...
I guess I should correct that. So yes, I will fess up. I retired after 35 years at New Jersey Transit. I was contacted by a recruiter. I had never envisioned leaving New Jersey, but it was an incredible opportunity, and we were really excited. And I often say that in New Jersey, we kept a close eye on what was going on at the MBTA, and they had done some unique and innovative things. So the idea of moving or ending my career at the MBTA was really exciting.
Yeah. Now, do you mind if I bring up your husband, that he's in transit too, and how you guys met? I think that's a great love story.
Sure. A little bit more background. We were both hired now I'm really going into dates, in 1987. I was a ticket agent and he was in law enforcement, and there had been an armed robbery. And he was actually assigned to investigate, and that's how we met.
Oh, wow.
We married 7 years later, and both of our children actually interned at New Jersey Transit, and my son is still working there as a bus service planner. So definitely a true transportation family.
Isn't that something? And he spent his whole career in public transportation, law enforcement, that kind of a thing?
He did. He moved from New Jersey Transit. He spent a few years at the MTA as one of the chiefs of police. I think it was chief of operations. And then
the New York City MTA?
Yes, New York City MTA.
Okay,
Manhattan.
wow.
His
Yeah,
office
yeah.
was in Grand Central. And then he ended up in San Diego, and we had an interesting bi-coastal relationship for a few years.
Oh, wow. But now you're back together up in Boston, huh?
We are reunited.
Yeah, that's great. That's what I got a good friend that lives up there now who runs Keolis, who used to run First Transit. He's in Boston now with Keolis. He's the head of Keolis. He tells me he loves Boston.
It's a small industry, and how can you not love Boston?
Yeah.
We enjoy
Yeah.
it.
I'm looking forward to coming up there for the AFTA conference this September. I think my wife might come up with me too. It's she's never really been to Boston. I said, well, we can ride the train up there, take Amtrak. It'll be great.
Well,
Yeah.
we're planning a paratransit technical tour, so hopefully,
Oh, that's
you'll.
good. Maybe I should do that. Yeah, that'd be fun. All right. Speaking of MBTA and all that, by the way, congratulations. How long have you been there now at MBTA?
Just over 3 years here at the
Okay.
MBTA.
Gotcha. So talk to us about the MBTA. What are some of the big challenges you've had there? What's been happening in paratransit? I know you kind of came, COVID was still a thing, right? When you got there and it kind of
Yes.
became less or so. Yeah.
So when I first started, I joined January of 2022. I think I took a week off in between jobs. There were a few people in the office. There were 3 people on the floor when I first started. It was an interesting time, and some of what I was taxed with was emerging from COVID,
Yeah.
and how do we recover. So some of what we did here was through that period of time, invested in employees. And I think that it's important to acknowledge how necessary it is to recognize employees, but also to make sure that they are paid a decent wage and that morale is high. So we did 2 things. We revisited the contracts and increased wages for our contracted employees. And that's to address an industry staffing shortage. I think we were at some point between 20 to 30% understaffed with drivers. We did the same for our call center where we were understaffed. And then I nearly doubled the team from 14 to 25, the team of MBTA employees that oversees our contracts.
We should explain that too. That pretty much everything is contracted out, right?
That's a great point. So if I were to take a step back, yes, we contract out all of our services. So we have our dedicated service providers, which drive MBTA-owned vehicles. We have our non-dedicated service providers that we use to operate the Ride Flex program, which is the same-day demand service. And we contract out our operations center, which is a combination of call center and true operations with dispatch and scheduling.
And also, did you mention the other day that you also outsource ADA certification?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Keeping me on
Yes.
track. Yes.
That's all right.
So we
Yeah.
outsource, and this is interesting and novel, and another reason why it was exciting to come to the MBTA, because just before I arrived, we partnered with the system-wide accessibility team to build the mobility center where we're doing both eligibility and travel training. So that to me is exciting. It feels like a one-stop shop.
I just visited one of those out at Vegas, RTC. MJ Maynard has it there. And it's actually in our Las Vegas TV show that's airing right now on YouTube. We show inside that where they do their training and all that. It's amazing. So you guys are building one.
We are indeed. So RTC is our inspiration. And one of our
Okay.
directors actually traveled out to Vegas to see family, but made sure to do a site visit. So that is our inspiration. There is an opportunity. The MBTA purchased a building, 200 Newport Avenue in Quincy, and we are going to consolidate paratransit operations there. Track will move there this weekend. That's our operations center. And then we're doing a significant build out for the mobility center. And what's exciting about that is it will be on the ground floor. It will be accessible. We are not going to have to retrofit anything. We're going to build out as needed. But we hold that picture of RTC up as our example.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, they do a wonderful job out there. MJ is amazing. I've got another friend who runs MIVA, which is just outside of Boston. His name is Noah Berger, and he runs a fare-free system there. Do you guys interact with all the ones around the city, or you just service just the service area of MBTA?
Well, that's another great question. So we do transfers to the other RTAs, but I think it's important that we build out those relationships. And recently at APTA, I had met with a representative from GATRA, and we're setting up a site visit to observe their electric vehicles.
Okay.
So we're kind of looking forward to that as well.
Yeah. So you guys contract out everything in paratransit, and like I was mentioning, Brad Thomas with Keolis. I know they run the commuter rail.
Mhm.
I had a good talk with Ryan Colahan, your boss, the COO there. Also, we talked about that. By the way, Ryan's amazing, isn't he? Drives his own train to work every day. I mean, you don't get many guys who are the COO who keep their engineer's license, huh?
No, he is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a couple other guys on your team that I've been good friends with. David Gerstel was your chief digital officer. He was in the show a couple years ago. He's still there, right?
David's still there, and we did a really fun project with him recently. We called it Ride Along, which was an app, I would say an app, a link to track the vehicle progress in real time that the customers were really happy with.
That's good. And you just went through a big long process on improving your technology too, right?
We did. After 2 years, we awarded a new software contract. And we're really excited what that brings to our customers, particularly if there's a lot of customer facing improvements.
How many people ride a day? Give us a side of the scope because you have a pretty big paratransit service there.
So daily, we're looking at about 4,000 trips a day.
Okay.
And we continue to see an increase year over year.
Yeah. And the costs, for some reason, just don't come down, do they?
Well, as somebody, yeah, that's familiar with the paratransit industry, we know that the cost per trip is expensive and more expensive than any of the other modes of transportation. And it's related to the way we deliver our customers, that personalized nature.
Yeah. So, what are you doing with regard to all that? I mean, are you working on new innovations, new efficiencies, those kind of things?
Yes, actually. So we're doing a lot of fun things. We're exploring alternate ways to deliver trips. Again, coming right out of that APTA conference, there's a lot of discussion about microtransit. We'd like to get to a point now that we have sufficient drivers where we can explore options about providing paratransit same-day service. One of the other items is electric vehicles. We're really interested in electric vehicles. We're tracking and trending that. We're in touch with our sister agencies. And I had said we're going to do a site visit, but we have an electric vehicle study underway right now.
So we're with Michele Stiehler. She is the Chief of Paratransit Services at MBTA. And when we come back right after this word, we're going to dive into her approach toward leadership.
Hi, I'm Julie Gates, executive producer at Transit Unplugged. Thank you so much for listening. You may have noticed Transit Unplugged has a brand new logo and a refreshed look. After nearly a decade of telling transit's greatest stories, we've made a number of upgrades to keep pace with the industry that's changing faster than ever. Whether you listen to Transit Unplugged podcast for executive conversations, watch Transit Unplugged TV for food, travel, and transit adventures, or get your headlines with the Transit Unplugged News Minute, we're committed to telling transit's story in bigger and better ways. Stay tuned. There's even more coming later this year. Thanks for being on this journey with us.
And we're back with Michele Stiehler. She's the Chief of Paratransit Services at MBTA, one of the largest paratransit systems in the country. Michele, do you know where you're ranked, like number-wise, and the top systems? I know when I was in Washington, D.C., managing that, I think we were ranked fourth or fifth. We had about 7,000 or 8,000 trips a day at the time. And then, of course, it all went off the maps during COVID, and now people are building back. Where are you guys at? Do you know ranked-wise?
So I would want to say top 10. I
Yeah.
couldn't give you a specific number, but I know we're up there with respect to the trips that we provide.
Yeah, and we're going to dive into leadership in just a minute, but let's talk about the nature of paratransit, which you and I care a lot about. You have spent a lot of your career. I was just telling you yesterday, I was going to visit my old digs here in Queen Anne's County, Maryland, meeting with the Director of Transportation there, Stephen, and Kathy Willis, who's head of used to be the Department of Aging, now it's Community Services. But I started my career working for a Department of Aging, working with elderly and people with disabilities, and it's always been a passion of mine. It's been a red string through my whole career. And I know you care passionately. Talk to us some about your passion and why paratransit is important. It is expensive, but to me, and I think you probably agree with this, I mean, these are the people that need it the most. So we really have to make sure we give them the best service, in my opinion.
You know what? And thank you for asking that question. I can't think of anything more important. It's customers that are underserved, and it's challenging, and it's really important. The paratransit service, we talk about it as a safety net for people that can't use fixed route. Um, Ideally, to me, if you were to ask what my goal is, it's to render paratransit virtually obsolete by ensuring that all of the systems are accessible. The reality is, I know we can't do that, but it's the service itself. The customers will book reservations. It's a door-to-door service, so customers get additional assistance to and from the doors. That they will be helped with packages. They will be helped boarding and exiting the vehicle as well. I think it's more important than anything to promote paratransit and to let customers know that that's an option. Also, I think it's important for people to understand that this isn't automatically provided, that there's an eligibility process, and the eligibility process is in place to make sure the right customers have access to that service. We're doing some great things here with working collaboratively with some of the local advocates and advisory boards, and heavily focused now on the customer experience, which I think is exciting. There's nothing more important to me than listening to our customers and to the public about what their needs are. But we're really doing some fun things here, and happy to incorporate the customer feedback into our decisions moving forward.
Let's talk about your approach toward leadership and passion you have behind what you do. Obviously, you're very passionate about it. You've now led 2 state agencies, paratransit. I don't know actually anyone else who's done that, by the way, Michele, who, you were the head of the whole state paratransit, and now MBTA is a state agency, even though, just like MTA in Baltimore was. We're a state agency, even though we primarily serve the Baltimore region. What drives you? What motivates you? When you get up in the morning, what are you feeling like, yeah, I want to go into work today?
You're really asking some great questions here. So I can tell you that the team and the service we provide motivates me, and I think it's a really unique department, and we're more connected to our customers through the nature of our service. We know our customers' names, we know their addresses, where they travel to, we can connect directly with them, we often interact with them. So I think that the nature of our service keeps us really engaged and connected. I'm going to overlap a bit here, but with respect to leadership, I believe in leading by example. I get out there, I take trips, I interact with the customers. I push every team member. They're all required to get out in the field and interact with our customers.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's really important. And I find that sometimes team members can get bogged down in meeting their numbers and their goals and forget that connection to our customers and the service we're delivering. I think our team is really good at doing that. So when I wake up every day, I'm eager to get in and just be better than the day before.
My next book is going to be on finding your X factor, which is where your interests and abilities intersect. And that, I believe, is the sweet spot to kind of reach your highest potential and to wake up every day with a fire in the belly. And I remember, as we were talking about my first job as a transportation coordinator for the Department of Aging, we only had 15 vans, a small service in this county. But I went home, I remember my 20s, every day feeling like warm inside my heart is the only way I can describe it, because I knew what the work I did today meant. And actually, it was because, and I've talked about this a lot in my speeches, it's because I was closest to the customers. That job put me the closest to the customers than any job I've ever had the rest of my career. And I love the fact that you say that's key. Getting you, not only you out there, but your staff, people who are in IT, finance, procurement, legal, PR, they all need to, I believe, and it's wonderful that you're doing this, they need to experience what it is, the service they're providing. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. More often than not, when I take a trip, I will ride anonymously. I think it's important that nobody knows who is on board that vehicle, and then provide discreet feedback. And sometimes I ride and simply acknowledge just the incredible work that those drivers do, that front line.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah, talk about the difference. I mean, I've run big agencies, MTA, the 11th largest in the country. And I've seen the fixed route drivers, the train drivers, but man, the paratransit drivers, talk to us about what a paratransit driver actually does, what their job description is, the reality of it.
It definitely takes a special kind of person, and being out there with the drivers is a lot of fun, because more recently, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, I was on board and we took the time, because the driver had time available in their schedule, to park and chat about what their best day looked like, what their worst day looked like, why they loved it. It was somebody that was on the job for over 20 years. They loved helping people. They enjoyed seeing the same customers day to day. They enjoyed the exchanges with the customers about their family members, the doctor's appointment they're going to, the groceries. They liked helping them to the door. But I really find that what I hear, and it echoes my feeling, which is it's a very fulfilling job. You build a connection.
Hey, I want to jump into a little bit of a leadership approach. And as a leader, what's been your biggest lesson from the past few years, would you say? And what advice would you give to others navigating change in public transportation? Because clearly, change is afoot in the industry out of Washington and with technology and with all the different priorities now that we have to serve the public. What are some of the lessons you've learned and what are some advice you would give?
Wow. Okay. Well, when I think about the long career, I've seen all types of leadership. And I think that allowed me to refine and define who I am and what type of leader I want to be. And from my perspective, it's certainly about empowerment. There is nothing more exciting to me than being surrounded by my talented and brilliant team and brainstorming and creative problem solving. I like having a comfortable space where everybody can contribute. That being said, I don't have a problem making those hard decisions, certainly supporting my team. As far as navigating changes, I've been in the industry a long time. And with administrations, there often come a lot of changes. Ask for their patience as we work through this. Ask for agility and nimbleness to adapt quickly based on new requests. And it's also because I've been in the business a long time, you can almost anticipate what direction we're headed in. So I can prepare the team. I know this is going to be coming. There's going to be an ask for data. Let's get ahead of this. Let's develop a deck to explain what it is we do and what our needs are. But I really feel that my career has come full circle here, and I'm a far better leader now, having learned from the past.
That's wonderful. It reminds me of that story of a ship at sea. There was a ship at sea and the engine went down with all the passengers on it. And so no one on board could fix the engine. They called for help. They brought in a guy by helicopter. He landed, he went down, he checked the whole engine out. He took out a small hammer. He looked and then he tapped in a certain spot and the engine came on. And they said, wow, it's wonderful. How much do we owe you? He said, $10,000. And they were like, $10,000? How could it be so much? It only took you 5 minutes and you just tapped in one place. He said, well, it's $5 for the tap. It's $9,995 for knowing where to tap. And that is what comes from the wisdom and experience, I think, of working in the industry, of making decisions like you've had to do in your leadership positions, absorbing the blowback, because we know there's a law of thermodynamics that says, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and then learning to adjust the thrust so that you minimize the parry and all that. And these are the wisdom that is forged in the crucible of thousands of smaller decisions. Talk about that, Sam.
Well, you're right. So I see my role as an advocate for the team to ensure that they have the resources that they need to do the job. I think of myself also as the pitch person, that we group together, determine what we need, and I have to shop that pitch. And also, to your point, and I couldn't think of a better story, I really enjoyed that. But to your point is that they have to do it without worrying, without the concerns, that they have to know that I'm there, that I support them, and there will be no blowback, that I will address it.
Interesting. That's good. So you allow your employees, as long as they keep you informed and have their heart in the right place, to make mistakes without kind of sawing off the limb underneath them.
Yes. And again, I think it's having been in the industry a long time and refining and improving on what I have learned and what I have experienced. But I do think it's important that they have a safe place that they can think. It's important that I'm always informed, and I believe in building consensus. But certainly when decisions have to be made, I'm quite capable of making those. But I really think it's important that we have individual contributors as well as team contributors.
That's wonderful. Well, wrap it all up for us. Give us some closing thoughts you might have about where you think we're headed as an industry, especially the paratransit industry. Where do you think we should be headed? Where are we headed? Give us kind of a forward-looking vision.
Well, that's a great question. So again, I had mentioned that I was away at a conference. And I saw some truly inspiring things. One of the things I was excited about were autonomous vehicles, which were in Austin. Where do I think we're headed? I feel very positive about the focus on accessibility, building new systems, retrofitting existing systems. I would like to believe that we're going to shift more into a training and education and information mode in paratransit because there will be more accessible transportation. Okay. So we're thinking more along the lines of transportation as a service, where a customer identifies or a member of the public identifies where they want to travel based on their preferences, and the best options are put together and posited to the customer for them to select the best option.
Yeah, that is an exciting future, isn't it? Yeah, I think we have a lot of exciting things in our future. I'm always an optimist. I see the glass half full. I think that we have an opportunity now, no matter what happens in Washington, to focus on the core essentials of creating a wonderful transit system, which in my mind, the four cornerstones are safety, efficiency, reliability, and world-class customer service. And I think if we focus everything in our agencies and our services around those core essentials, we're going to be successful. We're going to make people understand the value that we bring, commercially, environmentally, the personal services that we provide, the economic development, and we have the opportunity, I think, to do that even more so now in the future. I think you've got a great example of it there, Michele, and I appreciate you being our guest today on the show and sharing with us some of your passion for providing outstanding paratransit to people with disabilities. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Paul. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Transit Unplugged podcast. We're so glad you're here. My name is Julie Gates. I'm the executive producer of the show, and our goal is to create programs that promote the great things going on in the transit industry by providing you with behind-the-scenes access with industry executive leadership so we can work together to find innovative industry solutions. We would love to have you be a part of the Transit Unplugged community by having you sign up for our newsletter. Head to the show notes to find the link. Thanks for listening to Transit Unplugged with Paul Comfort, our favorite transit evangelist, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks for tuning in.